We're doing it today, guys. We're doing it today. This right here. Volume 13 of Berserk. I don't even know what to say right now, to be honest with you, because as I stated before in my previous reviews of Berserk, they have just been a pleasure to read. Berserk is an amazing series. And at the same time, while Berserk is very, pleasurable to read, at the same time it is very heart-wrenching. And rereading it doesn't help. It really doesn't, especially as to what goes down in Volume 13 of Berserk. I'm speechless right now. I remember this scene, in the anime, the films, my first time reading this manga volume review, and now I just reread it again, and, once you see this scene a couple of times, you're completely, speechless throughout, the first time, it's going to have an effect on you. The first time you read this, especially if you are really connected to the series of Berserk, when you reach Volume 13, you're going to, get hit in the heart. You're going to either cry or just in some way you are going to be completely frustrated or something like that. And rereading it, you might have the same effect. Or you just might be completely speechless as I am right now, because what goes down in this volume is so fucked up. So fucked up. Now, before I actually get into this volume review of Berserk, firstly, we gotta talk about the idea of evil. Now, if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's pretty much just a chapter within Berserk that was omitted from Kentaro Miura himself, that he decided to omit from the volumes of Berserk, because he basically thought that within this chapter it gave away too much of the story of Berserk as it developed further. Now, what is the idea of evil? Basically, it is this thing. We get to see a glimpse of it at pretty much the moment where we see Griffith fading into darkness before his transformation as Femto. And within this chapter, we basically get to see that the idea of evil was necessarily a creation by humans. That it seems like it is God, but actually it is a God that was created by humans. Now, if you really think about it, when it comes to religion, without getting too religious here, religion is something that humans have made up themselves. Now, when it comes to if there is a God or not, we have been questioning that for a very long time throughout human history, and we still question it to this day if there is a God in general. And, at some point in time, as you read the Berserk volumes, you will want to think that, is there a God at all within the series of Berserk that is actually, predetermining the destiny of Griffith or the destiny of Guts, because that's what it seemingly made out to be. And honestly, once you read that chapter, you will find out that's basically what the idea of evil is. As the idea of evil basically states to Griffith that ever since the beginning of when he was born, all these events that he has gone throughout his life, the battles he has faced, the hardships he has faced, every single event was predetermined to get to where he was today. And the idea of evil also states that, Griffith is technically either going to be the savior of humanity or the downfall of humanity in general, because now he is free to live his life as he so pleases. And this is when Griffith tells the idea of evil, if I'm going to accomplish what I want to accomplish, I want wings. And that is when we see the rebirth of Griffith and his new persona known as Femto. Now, what Griffith perceives as the idea of evil is a god. However, in my interpretation, even though we have gotten all of this information when it comes to the idea of evil that it has stated and pretty much how it was created, even though we got all that information, I'm going to take a little bit of the information we have got it and interpret into my own little meaning. Now, what is the idea of evil in my eyes? The idea of evil is necessarily a manifestation of people's sins or thoughts or even beliefs or, just the actions that they have committed. If anything, the idea of evil is necessarily a belief that people have. Griffith sees this as some sort of god. And, when it comes to religion, without getting too religious here, people hold on to religion as some sort of hope. They need hope that things will get better over time. And usually when things happen, that they really wish didn't end up happening, if something ends up happening, that really affects them, they blame who? They blame God. And this is what the manifestation of the idea of evil is. The idea of evil stated that, it was man-made, created by the hardships that people have had throughout life. And it was pretty much a subject as to put blame on rather than the sake of blaming humans in general. And this is where I am basically, stating my interpretation of it. Basically, this isn't a god in general. Anybody can see this god. Not only Griffith, but anybody could see the idea of evil, because what it actually is a heart. It is a heart made out of people's, sins, actions, thoughts, and their beliefs in general. So yeah, if you haven't checked out this chapter of Berserk yet, definitely go look up on Google Chapter 83 of Berserk. It will be titled The Lost Chapter. You can probably just type that in, Berserk The Lost Chapter, and you will find the idea of evil chapter. And pretty much this is pretty much that, everything I have been talking about up until this point. The idea of evil and how Griffith ends up becoming Femto in general. So yeah, it is not necessarily like a essential, chapter that you will probably have to look at. However, if you do want to understand certain things that come about later down the line in Berserk, then yeah, you might want to check this out. But at the same time, as Kentaro Miura stated, it could also spoil some events that end up coming about in later events in Berserk. However, at the same time, at this point, we have already seen this coming, and the idea of evil, could end up making a second turnabout in the later chapters of Berserk, and if we haven't seen it, beforehand, how impactful is it going to be when we see a second time? Just food for thought there. So, yeah, you can either check this out or completely skip it. Now, let's get to the review of Volume 13. So, this manga volume right here, Volume 13 of Berserk. I really want to know what your thoughts of what, this volume of Berserk is, guys. This is my second rereading of this volume, so I already knew what was going on, especially as I mentioned before, I've watched the anime and I have seen the films as well, so I already know what happens. But I will tell you, in my first reading experience when I saw this, it's much more explicit than what is shown in the films or the anime. I will say that. I really want to know what your, expressions were, and I'm sorry that I can't really, give you an overall genuine reaction when it comes to this, but what I will say is that it still was pretty, horrifying to look at. I mean, just seeing Guts and his family, technically, his family, because that is technically the only family that Guts has ever known. The Band of the Hawk. The Band of the Hawk was Guts' only family. Griffith was his friend, his best friend, someone that he could look up to, idolize. And then there's Casca. Casca was his lover. Guts finally found love within this little family that Griffith ended up forming to begin with. And just like that, all that was taken away from him. I mean, people are dying just left and right. Left and right. It's just ridiculous. It really is. It's not cool. It's not a pretty sight. People can't do anything. Guts can't do anything. Casca can't do anything. Nobody can do anything. No one within the Band of the Hawk can do anything at this point. They are completely surrounded within a sphere of demons, completely tearing them to shreds, the remaining band of the Hawk members. And it's a very grotesque sight. It really is. Corcus ends up dying. The person that, we have grown to hate because he is, just a hot-headed type of guy, and he's kind of like a asshole at some points, but he didn't even deserve that. He ends up dying. Judo. My boy Judo, though, like, probably one of the most badass characters next to Guts in the Band of the Hawk. Just saying. And he even ends up dying. It's sad. It really is, And Judo, something that I wanted to mention is that, I have a feeling that Judo did care about Casca in a physical attraction sort of way, a sexual way. He felt, inside that he had feelings for Casca. He probably even loved her, and he couldn't get the words out to actually say this. And that is when, he stated previously in a few volumes ago, when Guts first was leaving the Band of the Hawk, that, Griffith will never be able to go with her, and Judo said that, I certainly won't be able to go with her as well. Why don't you give her a shot? So definitely we can tell that Judo did have some sort of emotional attraction with Casca. It's just he never ended up getting to say his feelings in general, even at the moment he dies. And that's some sad shit right there. That is some sad shit. And then Pippin ends up dying. Oh man, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about this, dude. Like, this volume of Berserk, like, it's so fucked up. It's so fucked up. Even rereading it, like, I thought it wouldn't have that much of an impact on me since I've already seen the scene play out 4 times already, to be honest with you. But it still hits you. It really does hit you. Not only do all the members within the Band of the Hawk die, Guts' family, but also we have it to where Griffith ends up raping Casca. He ends up raping Casca while Guts watches. He has his freaking hand, completely clawed to the T. He cannot, get out. He is trying to run to Griffith to stop him from what he's doing to Casca, and this demon just has, completely just bitten him, his whole arm, to the point where he cannot escape. So the only way he is able to escape to actually get to Casca is to actually use his broken sword and stab his arm, all the way down, even to the bone, to the point where we see the veins, the gore, everything, pretty much just, we have it to where he cuts his arm in half. We see all this play out in front of Guts, and, in front of Guts, the scene that he is witnessing is a very traumatic experience for him, and he has already had a traumatic, past as well. He ends up stabbing, just freaking cutting off his arm, and then as he is running to Griffith, the demons come back and push him to the ground, smash him to the ground, I should say, and make him continually watch as Griffith ends up raping Casca. And then we see the demon's claws end up, going inside one of Guts' eyes. And now we know, judging by the events that ended up happening later down within this volume of Berserk, how he ended up escaping the Eclipse from the Skull Knight. We now know that in the beginning stages of Berserk, volumes like 1 through 3, we see Guts in the Black Swordsman Arc. His arm is technically prosthetic. Now we know how he ended up losing his eye and his arm as well. It all happened here in the Eclipse, where Guts technically lost everything. He lost his family, the Band of the Hawk. He lost his closest friend, which was Griffith. Griffith ended up turning against him, the person that he idolized. Then we also have it to where he ended up losing Casca, his lover. He didn't necessarily, lose her in the sense that she was killed, but she has no recollection of who or even Rickett even is. No recollection whatsoever. It's sad. And then he also ended up losing his eye and arm, his limbs, his being. And this has really affected Guts psychologically, especially, when you get to the end of this volume of Berserk, the last remaining chapters, as Guts is running out, of, like, in the forest, yelling out, screaming, like, why me? Why has this come? What exactly is going on? He's just screaming, having all these flashbacks with, Corcus, Pippin, Casca, Griffith, all the stuff that he had acquired within that small few years of time, that small time frame, has all been completely wiped away from him. That's some sad shit. Like when you probably read that part of the volume, you will probably end up crying. Not many people seem to cry at this part, but there will be some. If anything, as I stated before in the beginning of this volume, you are probably going to be emotionally drained when it comes to the final chapters of the Golden Age arc and Volume 13. Like, wow. Oh, and also to add on to the pain that Guts has now sustained throughout the end of this volume, we also have it to where, since because of the fact that the Skull Knight rescued Guts and Casca from the Eclipse, he states that, your time, these two, their time is not up yet. They are still very important, and, it is their fate to live on. However, since they ended up escaping the Eclipse from the Skull Knight, and they were branded by the brand of sacrifice from the Eclipse, they are now going to live a life of utter hell, as now, pretty much, I guess, only when it comes about at nighttime, I guess, is when supernatural entities ended up, ending up coming out and basically haunting Guts and Casca as well. And we have it at the end of this volume where they end up finding a new torch, and a new torch, in fact, is Casca. So we have it to where the Skull Knight and Guts are now going to chase down and try to get back to the cave to where Casca is residing at. So, yeah. Some deep shit. Deep shit ends up going down in this volume. Sad stuff, really messed up stuff, and overall, just a good volume in general. Just a very good volume in general when it comes to Berserk. Just a very fucked up one. However, now the fact that we have actually completed my rereading of volumes 1 through 13 of Berserk, hopefully now we can actually move on to better things. Things that I have not seen before in the Berserk universe. Something that will be completely, surprising to me. Something genuine. A genuine reaction that I will end up gathering out of these future volumes of Berserk to come. And that means that I am now heading into Volume 14 of Berserk. I'm ripping off the package right here. No longer am I going to use this package right here, or the wrapping that is on this volume of Berserk. No longer. It is completely not on the volume anymore, and it is free for me to open up and experience for myself. So, now that we have finally completed the Golden Age arc, it looks like we are finally going into the Black Swordsman Arc, which is going to be fucking awesome. Because now, as I stated before, I can now give my general reaction of, the new volumes that I have now acquired of Berserk and will eventually end up requiring later down the line. So yeah, this has been awesome, guys. This has been awesome. This has been my volumes, rereading reviews of volumes 1 through 13 of Berserk. And now I am finally getting into the new stuff that I have never seen before. We're getting into Volume 14 in the next review, guys. I really hope you stick with me in these reviews to come, because now it's just going to be my genuine reaction to these Berserk videos, and it's going to be my overall thoughts and new stuff that I have not seen before when it comes to the manga of Berserk. So yeah, thank you all for sticking with me up until this point in time, and I hope that you continue watching my Berserk reviews. Jeez, this volume had me fucked up, that's why I'm stuttering. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching this series, and I'm going to continue reviewing the Berserk volume reviews. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on what you thought about this volume of Berserk Volume 13 and the idea of Untitled Chapter. And of course, if you like this video, don't forget to drop a like. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you want to stick up to date to my future content on this channel and see more Berserk reviews from me, then please hit that red subscribe button below, and you will never miss a video from me. That about does it for this video, guys. And the next one, Volume 14. I'll catch you guys next time.